Welcome to Jersey Hobby Hour. This is episode 8 for October 14th, 2015. I'm Steve Chin, your host, and co-hosting with me today is Alan Wan. How you doing, Alan?
Hey, I'm doing great. We survived our first Comic-Con, bro.
That we did. Jersey Hobby Hour is a show where Alan and I talk a little bit about current events, and we also talk about anything else that really kind of comes up in the news for entertainment, gaming, technology, or any other category that catches our fancy. And we also try and bring our friends in onto the show in order to try and get them to join the conversation. And if you want to, you can always leave some comments below or contact us directly in order to join us on the show for a little conversation about something. But mainly this show is going to be about us visiting Comic-Con last week, which happened on October 8th through the 11th. And we actually only went on the 8th on Thursday, but we had a great time. And it was probably the cheapest way to experience Comic-Con with the least amount of people. And I think Alan probably agrees with me on that, at least.
I hate people. God, I hate people. But, it was actually great to be in an atmosphere where everyone's basically kind of nerding out. There on the day we went to on Thursday, there wasn't as much cosplaying because obviously, people have to work, unlike idiots like us who decided to take a day off. But we didn't get to see a lot of cosplaying. But then I still felt kind of that atmosphere, that excitement at a con, because I've never been at a con. At least Steve's been at a con. I've never been to a convention, so it was great to be, because I'm a fan of most of the stuff that was there. It was great to walk the floor, and me and Steve checked out a few of the panels.
Alan, have you ever actually been to the Javits Center before?
I'm Asian. I'm pretty sure I've gone to the car show once or twice.
No, I've never actually gone to New York Auto Show at all, but I have gone to Digital Life. This was probably like 8 years ago. It was basically almost like a CES or a Consumer Electronics Show. You had big companies like Intel and stuff like that promoting new products. And it was just about digital life altogether. Although this was kind of before the whole YouTube kind of thing happened, because this was probably the first 2 years of high school for us. So that probably would have been 2004, 2003, around those years that I was going to those. And I mean, those were great. They started to include gaming and things like that, but online video hadn't really taken off by then, so you didn't have like a lot of sort of personalities showing up that you wanted to go see and things like that, because I mean, like independent content makers didn't exist, but you were there to check out new games, check out products and stuff like that. And it's just interesting coming from that perspective, from going to a convention like that, to going to something like Comic-Con, because it's a lot different of an atmosphere. It's definitely sort of more mainstream. But I feel like the engagement by people who are visiting is a lot more prevalent in Comic-Con than, let's say, at Digital Life. Because, I mean, you always have people who just kind of come in and stroll around and kind of take a look around. But like, you have some real like hardcore people showing up and wanting to take a look at booths or panels and things like that. That's really interesting to me. Alan, how'd you like seeing all the people in costume? I know you said that you didn't see a lot, but I saw enough that it was interesting. What'd you think of the people that we did see?
It means, I realized that I need to get dressed up next year. That's the bottom line. Some of them were really impressive, but then some of them seemed like they just threw something on last minute. So in my eyes, it's either you go all out or you just don't even try. That's like me and you. We didn't even try. We just dressed up. We just wore whatever. Yeah.
One thing I noticed is that, I mean, people are very practical about their costumes. Like, they don't make and wear it unless they can actually maneuver around the show floor. I mean, again, we did go on a Thursday, sort of the low point for the beginning of the con, because I mean, people aren't going to take off during the week and things like that. But they certainly put on clothing or put on costumes that allow them to walk around, operate doors and stairs, and be able to get around. And certainly stuff that's not like terribly hot. Like, you didn't see people running around in like full costume with like armor and stuff running around, at least not on Thursday.
Yeah, well, Steve, did you see the Hulkbuster that they had? They had a Hulkbuster costume walking around New York Comic Con.
Yeah, I saw a video of that online. Now, we don't have that in the show notes down below in the video, but you can check it out on Google. I think it was actually also on a Facebook news feed as well. Somebody walking around with a 9-foot tall Hulkbuster armor, which was gigantic. You could see like he's got like have people like push people out of the way for him. I don't know if that's so useful because you're paying all this money to go to a con to like experience stuff. If you're just kind of stuck outside, sort of just standing around. I mean, I guess it's cool if you want to get attention, but I don't know. Would you do something like that?
Yes. Well, you figured if he's gonna be so, you're gonna go all out for Comic-Con, you figured he's gonna probably go the other couple of days. Maybe it's that one day, there's everyone there. You just want to have attention. I'm sure this guy, whoever this is, because apparently it's some kind of it's this kind of like little studio that actually makes these costumes for a living. So that's why. And when it moves, it makes a noise like RoboCop. I thought it was cool.
Well, I'm sure there are like other considerations too to factor in. Like if you're coming from somewhere not in or around the New York metro area, how the hell do you get that suit here in order to wear it?
I thought exactly the same thing in terms of practicality. Like you're obviously not taking the NJ Transit, not from Metro Park at least. You're not fitting into one of the trains. You probably had to drive it in, and it looked like they showed a video of him like actually putting it on. It seems like it came in like several different pieces, but to have to drag that all the way over here, I mean, props for him for doing so. And props for him I think he won like $1,000 or something like that.
Oh, there was like a costume contest.
I think he won $1,000. Maybe it was $1 million. I don't know. I think it's
probably cost him more in like man hours to make that.
I think it said 180 man hours or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more than.
Listen, if you're passionate, you'll do whatever it takes.
Well, kind of wanted to just go through some of the photos you took while we were at Comic-Con. I didn't happen to take any photos, mainly because my phone on my camera on my phone is kind of crappy, and
That's right.
I'm also not one to generally take photos when I visit places. I don't know, just something I don't do. So thank you, Alan, for taking photos. This way we could do this. So let me go ahead and just bring up some of the photos that you took. There's really not a whole lot. But
you said my pictures are shitty quality. I'm sorry.
Well, that's your own fault because you took the photos in a lowered ISO quality.
I need the space. I need the RAM space.
All right, so this is like one of the photos we got like in the middle of the day, I think. We will happen to walk by. Was it the Bandai booth?
Yep.
And they had all of the original like Power Rangers action figures on display. Yeah. And I remember all of these toys because I wanted half of them and had the other half. But yeah, you have all the originals here, all the original colors from Power Rangers. And I'll even zoom in on this terrible quality photo. Yep. Although, where's the Green Ranger? I don't see...
you have the White Ranger. You don't need the Green Ranger. You have the White Ranger.
Yeah, what is this? Wait. There's no Green Ranger here.
There is no Green Ranger. Because technically, if you watch... I don't want to go to a tangent about Power Rangers, but the Thunder, those other Thunder swords, that was a different Sentai. Because, it was... Power Rangers originated from this footage called Sentai, and it was a different thing. The Green Ranger died. That's why they had to write him off. But since Tommy was so popular, they had to fit in the White Ranger in there. Sorry. I love Power Rangers.
The Bandai booth was huge, though. They actually had a lot of stuff going on. They had a really long line, I think, for their store for some sort of doodads they were selling. But
I'd be waiting for those things too. To be honest,
we happened to walk by this and saw all the original action figures, and we're like, "Wow, this is phenomenal!" Like I don't even know where mine are.
Listen, there is the Dragon Sword there. At least there's just no Green Ranger. There's a Dragon Sword. Sorry.
Next up, we have some photos of Danny Glover.
Bad quality photos of Danny
Terrible
Glover. Photos
because you totally weren't supposed to take photos where we were.
Illegal. It's $30 a pop. I'm sorry, it's Danny Glover, but still $30 a pop.
And not only did you take one, but you took three. You took 3 photos of Danny Glover.
Listen, he was on the phone. during the time he was signing these things. If you guys don't see, he has. I mean, he was probably listening to music. He's like, yeah, I'm too old for this shit. Yeah, sorry, that's one curse word today.
So basically, like just after lunch, right around like 11:30 or 12 o'clock, I asked Alan like, "Hey, we should go to the autograph signing," because I wanted to get Felicia Day's signature. And while we were in line, that's when he was able to snap this photo. But there were like signs everywhere that clearly said like, "Hey, you can't take photos while you're in this line." But we did get a chance to get an autograph from Felicia Day. Really interesting small conversation with her about how I ended up finding her on the internet, because she was like, "Oh yeah, have we met before?" And I was like, no, I kind of just found you on the internet this year." And that's how that conversation kind of got started.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool lady. She's really sweet, and awesome that I got a photo. I also got her signature on 2 of her books, which actually I'm going to switch over to the screen here for the camera and show you guys. So this is a copy of her book, You're Never Weird on the Internet, almost. And on the inside, just a quick signature in there. And I also got her to sign a copy of the comic book that she also authored, which relates to the Guild. And she signed that as well. Basically same signature. Looks like chicken scratch, but awesome time doing that. We have more photos from directly afterwards. We actually went to go see if we can get into some of the panels and screenings that they were having on some of the main stages. And as soon as we arrived, we didn't know what we were walking into, really. We were really looking for the waiting area for the Star Wars panel for season 2 of Star Wars Rebels. But we happened to walk right in, and Kevin Smith happened to be talking about his show, Comic Book Men, and giving this really awesome speech about like sort of being a creator and kind of finding your muse. What do you think of Kevin Smith's discussion?
He sounds like an awesome person to sit down and have a beer with, to be honest with you. I mean, because I don't know, I've watched like Jay and Silent Bob and all those movies, so I really never seen him like talk that much. And of course, I know that he's a director. He directed Tusk recently, and he's a pretty half decent director. I mean, some movies have been better than others, but just him like encouraging people like is to basically encourage us to kind of like just make content and see where it goes.
Now, mind you, the photos that Alan was taking are mainly of the projector screens of the people on stage. Just because there were so many people between us and the stage, it was kind of difficult to get a good shot from where we were. But we did get some other photos, because we basically, or at least I did, camped out in that hall just to watch all the different panels. And after the Kevin Smith panel, which was maybe 10 minutes after we had arrived, was the Star Wars Rebels panel with this terrible quality photo that Alan took.
Mm-hmm.
But Star Wars Rebels panel had some interesting characters, interesting people on board. And Alan, why don't you tell us a little bit about who was on the panel?
Sure. So the three people that you see on there, you see the guy with the cowboy head. He's Dave Filoni. He's actually the guy that produced the original Clone Wars animated series. And obviously the middle, Sarah Michelle Gellar, she's playing I think the fifth sister, the fifth whatever. Basically, she's the new Inquisitor in season 2, the new threat that basically Darth Vader sends out to kind of go after our heroes for season 2. And the guy on the right, he's the voice of Ezra, which is the young Padawan that's being trained.
Another additional photo here of SMG, looking damn right pretty, actually. After that panel, I stayed, at least for most of the Robert Kirkman, The Walking Dead panel, which ended up just being him. I thought there was really going to be other people on the panel with him.
They lied.
It was really just an interesting panel with him talking about mostly the comic, not necessarily the TV show. Some interesting insights about how he came to write the comics and the story, and kind of where he's going with some of the characters. It was really a celebration of the fact that he's reached 150 issues of the comic. Seems like a pretty cool guy. And the one thing I found, at least with all these panels, all these people that are up on stage are really funny people, or like they have a good sense of humor
Comedians.
at least.
Yeah, they're comedians.
Yeah, their interaction with the fans is great. I mean, it's funny as hell when when you get some stupid people asking like really invasive questions and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, they could play up to the crowd too, which is awesome. I mean, that's what you need.
Kirkman's on the left, and on the right is a dude from Nerdist. I don't remember who it was though.
I forgot his name, but I've seen him around in like others in videos, but he's a pretty funny guy.
Something that we missed with the Star Wars panel, we did get to see some exclusive footage from the new season. That is not online actually, unless somebody recorded it by hand. But a lot of that stuff was really cool. I don't personally watch Star Wars Rebels, but Alan does, and I know it looks good enough that I would probably want to watch it. Actually,
yeah. I mean, it foreshadows what's going to happen in the series. I won't go too in depth with it. If you watch the Siege of THOR, which is the movie, like the little TV movie they have before season 2 starts, which is starting I think next week. But yeah, they gave us like a few clips of like of teasing like what Ahsoka's role is in this in season 2, and also kind of like why Darth Vader just doesn't go out and kill our heroes basically. So they're trying to weave in and out. They're trying to bring back some old people from Clone Wars to kind of like flesh out the rest of the universe.
Further on, we have one last panel that I ended up staying for, and that was a Game of Thrones panel with some of the actors. Basically, you have the actress that plays Marjorie Tyrell, and the actor that plays Loras Tyrell, and the woman in the middle, she plays one of the sisters that are from Dorne. I don't remember which one, but all very funny during the panel. They talk about funny stuff that happened on set, kind of the things that happen along with other characters or other actors on set. Interesting, funny anecdotes and things like that. They didn't give too much away at all about what they're working on for the new season. This was really just sort of almost like a meet and greet panel. Most of it ended up being just questions from the audience. A lot of fun though, just kind of being there in the audience. Alan decided to take another photo because she's really pretty.
Yeah, I agree. I will watch Game of Thrones for her.
And then Alan actually left during the middle of that panel and went to go walk around and take some photos and check out some other stuff, do a little shopping as well. So I'll let you kind of do the narration as we go through the rest of the photos.
Yeah. So I went through the rest of the. I think actually during the afternoon, it seemed like there were more cosplayers coming because when me and Steve were there, we were the first people into the doors. So obviously, not everyone was there. So when I saw this R2D2 and a C3PO like walking down the floor, and everyone was trying to take pictures with them. I don't know what's the next picture actually.
Actually, I just wanted to point out, look at that guy.
He's like the typical businessman. He's like, what is that? What am I doing? Well, here's the thing: if you're coming to Comic-Con, you're gonna expect some weird ass shit. And if you don't know who these two people are, which are the heroes of this franchise, think about it. R2D2 and C3PO have been in all the movies. This was just a random picture of Akuma. I think Christian would have liked it actually, so I took a picture of it. Yeah, this was I forgot the name. I think this is for the Warcraft movie. I think.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, this is actually a photo of the Weta Workshop booth. Now, that's WETA. Weta Workshop manufactures a lot of costumes and props for movies and video games and stuff like that. So what you're seeing on top is like Knights of Lordaeron or whatever. From the Warcraft universe. There was actually some those aren't full size, by the way. That they're just, I guess, scale models. If you look kind of where the leftmost flag is, underneath that display there was actually a full set of like wearable armor, I guess, that is being used in the movie, or just a replica of the same ones that are being used in the movie. Really awesome looking stuff, and they have all sorts of other mock-ups and displays that were at their booth. But I think that display was sort of the most enthralling. There was another one for the Lord of the Rings on the opposite side to the left. You can kind of see the armors peeking out over this guy's head. But I mean, the same kind of thing. Those were only to scale. They weren't like wearable armors. And there was another set of wearable armor beneath. And then you also have a Pip-Boy, just because. We probably should have taken a photo with it.
And you have Joker.
And a random guy in a Joker costume, which looks pretty sick. That's pretty awesome looking, actually. Now, I don't know where this was, but you definitely saw some Hulkbuster armor here.
Yeah, this is the what you call it. This is actually the Marvel collectibles booth, which was ridiculous. The line to even go and get anything. So basically, there was Marvel has a subscription box, so they're basically selling the subscription boxes there. They had the Marvel, they had Star Wars, the Smuggler's Bounty there. So like people were lining up for that, and it was really ridiculous in terms of, like, people were buying up all of them, to be honest with you.
Now,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, there was definitely a Konami booth around the corner right there, and there might have been something more useful to take a picture of, but instead you took a picture of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Like,
because I play Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Christian liked it. That's fine. I'm sorry. I thought of Christian half the time. This was pretty fun. This was awesome. I wish I had a chance to play because they had a huge line for it. It's basically Star Wars, like Rogue Squadron, essentially. So basically, all these guys were on a mission to attack the first Death Star.
Now, is it like multiplayer or something?
It was multiplayer. They're all linked up. They're all in the game.
That's phenomenal.
Exactly. It was a huge line. I wish I could play it too. Like, Red reporting. Red October reporting.
I don't. What is this, by the way? What the hell?
Another one of those pop toys. Chewbacca.
It's a giant Funko Pop toy. Is that what it is?
That's exactly. This is that.
So are they actually like bobbleheads or something?
But they are bobbleheads. These Funko Pop toys are bobbleheads. I just started collecting some of them. Don't want to ask how much I started spending on them, but started collecting some of them, and they were kind of cute. I mean, my girlfriend thinks so, at least.
Terrible.
Yeah, I think this is the tail end. Like we were just too lazy. We want to walk over there. But basically, Batman vs Superman had a presence there where they had the costumes there, where you see on the new Batman costume, you see the Superman costume, you see the Wonder Woman costume, and then you see the Batman costume that he's going to ultimately wear to fight Superman. Because
I'm sorry, is that Iron Man? It looks like Iron Man.
But yeah, like Batman versus Superman had a presence there because like they had Wi-Fi there, but it was sponsored by LexCorp. So it was kind of part of their marketing campaign to kind of bring more awareness. I mean, it's not like the people there didn't know about Batman versus Superman, but it seemed like they were trying to do this viral campaigning to emphasize how LexCorp is kind of like a real kind of a company.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of cool that they did that sort of marketing right alongside Comic-Con, because everyone's going to try and get on the Wi-Fi, right? And surprisingly, the cellular networks weren't terribly clogged with all the people that were attending the day we were going. I am rather surprised at that. But interesting means of marketing. I did like that. Overall, I really enjoyed the experience. I definitely think that going to Comic-Con is something that, if you're into this kind of stuff, you should definitely go do. Especially if it's only $40 to go on a Thursday. Definitely worth the time just to go and look around, check things out, and definitely worth the time if you're at all interested in anything that they have to offer. The only thing I have to say is something that's happening a lot with Comic-Con is because it's becoming mainstream. You could have like a whole group of people go, and everyone wants to go do and see something different, and they like different things. Like, it's entirely possible that two people go to Comic-Con, do and see completely different things without even having anything in common at all. And that's just because hey, this stuff is growing so big, and you have different markets that are trying to penetrate into this. I think it's really cool, but at the same time, you see things like struggling artists who are showing up to a con to try and like sell some of their artwork and things like that. Like I could see them struggling a bit because they have to give up booth space because it costs so much money to like have a booth at a con like this. But I think for us, when we want to see the big brands and go and check out some unique stuff that's coming out, get sneak peeks and things like that, I think it's definitely worth it. How about you, Alan?
Completely agree. I mean, it's debatable whether it's this whole kind of movement towards pop culture is detrimental to Comic-Con, because think about it. We went to Comic-Con. It's called Comic-Con, but we didn't buy a comic book, right? The whole point is that you're supposed to go there for Comic-Con. I mean, Game of Thrones really isn't a comic book.
We did see people selling, or at least trying to sell,
I agree,
like original first edition comics for like $20,000 or $30,000. But
exactly.
I mean, ultimately, those booths and that area on the show floor that had those booths was empty. There really wasn't as many people there as there really should be for something called Comic-Con.
Exactly. Especially there were lines for all, like I was a sheep. I was trying to buy more pop toys. So I was following the lines like, where can I get more pop toys? But yeah, I feel bad for like the artists out there that are paying for this like booth space, and then they're not. I mean, they do get. I mean, you can argue that because it's pop culture, like I mean, it draws more people in. More people are likely to check out their artwork.
Right. Hold on one sec.
Yeah. Sorry, a little technical difficulty, guys. So yeah, that's my kind of point on it.
Sorry, I'm back.
Difficulty?
So I mean, I definitely see a problem with this in terms of like indie comic book makers or comic book writers and artists in general. I mean, you do get more exposure to sort of the general population, but I mean, really, I mean, it's no longer a closed community experience that's really tight knit, and I don't know, that's something that comes out of the internet. Like you have people who are really tight knit on the internet because when you want to look for something, you find it, and you don't get exposed to a lot of other stuff. When you go to a con like this, now it's completely opposite of what the internet gives you. Like if you're a hardcore comic book nerd, you go there and you're like, the hell's this Walking Dead TV show crap? Like, like there's just a lot of extra flack that's up in the air, and it might be tougher to kind of sort through what you really want to go after. I could definitely see the benefits of having a smaller con, but I don't know, it's a great experience. Kind of moving on through our topics for tonight. Most of it is still going to be comic book related, still kind of closely related to Comic-Con. But we have a few topics towards the end of the night where we're going to be talking about some news topics that just recently happened. But first up on the list is the new Daredevil Season 2 sort of teaser trailer that popped up on the internet after New York Comic Con over the weekend. And Alan, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. So actually, this teaser came out at New York Comic Con. It was kind of because they had Marvel had their TV universe kind of panel with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They actually showed the first episode of Jessica Jones, and apparently everyone that saw it loved it. So that's kind of encouraging with Jessica Jones, because it seems kind of weird from what we say in the marketing. Just looking at the trailer for Daredevil 2, Season 2, the first minute and a half is basically a review of hey, watch Daredevil 1, watch Daredevil Season 1. And then you see like maybe 25 seconds of like Season 2, which gives you the glimpse of like basically Elektra, and also of the Punisher, which is supposedly our main antagonist for Daredevil, where Daredevil's kind of gonna he doesn't really kill. But the thing is that with Punisher, he kills. So his name is John Brunthal. I forgot what does he play. He's in
He
other
was
shows too.
actually Shane in The Walking Dead, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, he's playing Punisher, and I mean it's we can't really get I can't get a feel of him because all I can hear him say was bang, and he just walked like a badass. But I mean I'm not any more excited after seeing this teaser, to be honest with you. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna be excited to watch season 2 regardless. What do you think? What do you think, Steve?
I think that the trailer was more of sort of a glorification of the first season to kind of maybe, hey, you'll go watch the first season if you watch this trailer, if you haven't, started watching the series yet. I think it was a good sort of recap for the first season. But as far as like a teaser trailer into the next season, nah. I mean, it wasn't even kind of worth my time as sort of having this headline as being a teaser for next season. Because you already knew that these characters are going to be in there. They had already announced what actors were playing what characters a while ago. And they really didn't show you anything in terms of the plot or anything new. It's just like you have maybe 10 seconds of actual footage from the second season, and it's meaningless, really.
Yeah, it's interesting that Marvel is actually using Punisher because Punisher they actually had 2 Punisher movies come out in the 2000s. One with something Jane and one with Ray Stevens, I believe. And it seems like he's an R-rated character, so they're gonna put him in Daredevil. So it's gonna be interesting because I heard there's been talks with Wesley Snipes about bringing him back for Blade as Blade, so he possibly could cross over into this Netflix universe as well. So because he's Blade is
because he needs money to character. Figure out his tax situation.
I still love that line that he had in Expendables 3. He's like, "Oh, you were in jail. What were you in trouble for? Oh, tax evasion." And he called himself out on it too, because he was captured in Expendables 3, and they had to rescue him. And he that was his line. He's like, "What happened? Oh, tax evasion."
Something else that kind of popped up as an announcement over the weekend was that Ant-Man is going to get a sequel. Well, actually, I think there was sort of news on this earlier than this weekend, but it's sort of confirmed now. And they also announced 3 new Marvel films right alongside of it as well. Interesting thing that I noted was that the dates for the 3 movies happen to be in the same year, which is really, really interesting. So May 1st, July 10th, and November 6th, all of 2020. Now, why movies so closely booked together? I mean, are they going to be related? I mean, just looking at some of the other information that's out there in terms of like lists of movies that they're coming out with, probably not, because you're usually not going to, put all of your one franchise back to back like that. But that's really close. May, July, and November. I don't know, Alan. What do you think of the 3 other movies?
Well, actually, if you see the new schedule for 2017, they're actually after 2017 they're gonna have 3 Marvel movies coming out each year. In 2017, they actually do the same thing, where it's May they have Guardians of the Galaxy 2, July they have Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man, and then in November they have Thor Ragnarok. So it's not that uncommon where they have these 3 so close to each other. It's just a matter that Marvel is now this juggernaut, this well-oiled machine that's able to pump out content consistently. So the movie that's coming out, so basically they're announcing Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I think the name is kind of stupid, to be honest with you. I mean, it's kind of dumb, but then it basically it bumps some of the movies up front. I don't know what they're gonna do with the new movies in 2020, because it seems like there've been talks that everybody that's in contract right now for the original Avengers, their contract ends after Infinity War Part 2. So is it going to be a whole new phase? That's going to be Phase 4. So you figure there's going to be a whole new cast of people that come in that they haven't announced yet. So I don't know. Maybe they'll do Iron Man 4, because Iron Man 3 wasn't that great and it made $1.5 billion. What do you think, Steve?
I'm not sure. I mean, they could have announced, "Hey, we're doing 6 more movies," and I'm not entirely sure what to say at this point, because that's kind of really far out. We discussed this a little bit last week with I believe it was Paramount talking about their extended franchise for Transformers, and I don't know if there's a huge value in terms of building uh, a viewership or fans this early on. Like if you were to announce a new movie like 10 years from now, I don't know. Like especially since things are well before a production schedule, I'm announcing these things is kind of meaningless to me, at least. I mean, it just confirms stuff that we kind of already know. Like Ant-Man, okay, we kind of understood that there was going to be another Ant-Man after how well it did for sort of a new IP in the superhero universe. But like announcing 3 Untitled movies does nothing for me, and ultimately probably does nothing for their marketing schemes. It's just a matter of it happened to be on an email or something. That's the only thing I see with it, at least.
Well, yeah, I think they're planning those things to kind of, it actually is it's kind of like a warning signal for like, DC and all these other production companies like, hey, maybe I shouldn't open a movie on that weekend because, whatever movies, because any Marvel movie is going to make a ton of money. And you kind of don't want to open up your brand new movie along with a Marvel movie, right? Because you're gonna lose a lot of money.
So what do you think? It's just like a courtesy to the other movie production houses?
Yeah, you don't want to piss everyone off. I mean, listen, Disney's eating up a lot of people's money, mine especially. So it's kind of like what Kevin Feige says. It's part of show business where they like to plant flags. So it's kind of their way of like, hey, we're gonna claim this spot. We're gonna have a movie, but we don't know which movie it's gonna be. But we know we want to open a movie on this day. That's just kind of what they do.
Well, I mean, in other news with our Marvel universe, we do have some news that the Hulk will be back. And Alan found this online. And essentially, at the end of the new Avengers movie, spoiler alert, the Hulk is seen riding off into the sunset on a Quinjet. And he's by himself, and he ends up disappearing, and the Quinjet kind of crashes into the ocean. Well, there's confirmation that Mark Ruffalo's character, the Hulk, will be in Thor Ragnarok, the new Thor movie coming out, I believe, in 2016. I'm sorry, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about this?
This is, first of all, it's a rumor, so it's not completely confirmed. But apparently, there's really reliable sources saying that he's coming back. Thor's Hulk is going to be in Thor, and which makes sense because Hulk isn't in Civil War because there's so many freaking characters in there. So it makes sense to have Hulk and Thor together because both of them are not going to be in Civil War, right? So, and of course, Thor needs some help because the movie's called Thor Ragnarok, and I don't know, Steve doesn't know too much about it. Basically, they're gonna fight this demonic being, I think, named Surtur, and there's this sword where basically he's obsessed with pulling, and after he pulls it, that signifies the end of all days. And apparently, in this article, they're saying that most of the movie and Thor Ragnarok it's going to be taking place on a different planet. It's not going to be on Asgard. It's not going to be on Earth. It's going to be a different planet, which is why people are thinking, is this, Planet Hulk storyline? Which I don't know if Steve knows. Where basically,
yeah, I've heard of that before as being a storyline for the Hulk, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's teases on that. Well, it seems like all these Marvel movies are no longer truly solo movies. It seems like they're more ensemble casts. You know what I mean? Like they don't seem to have, like it's like, no, this is only Thor's movie.
Oh, we spoke about that before too. I mean, the way that they've been setting up the universe, it's more and more interconnected. So having a lone superhero doing something doesn't seem to make sense in the grand scheme of things. And that as the viewer, because you see all this crossover between the characters and stuff like that.
True. You're like, hey, what? Iron Man's control? Where's Captain America? Where's Hulk?
And I mean, in terms of crossover and things like that, I don't really see like the Hulk and Thor being like a really great combo on screen, to be honest.
You didn't like the chemistry they had in Avengers 1?
He like punches him and that's it. And then
well, they had a fight. They had a fight
and then he like slams Tom Hiddleston into the ground. and calls him a puny god. Like, that was the only chemistry that they had.
No, they had a fight in Thor on the what you call it, on the Quinjet when he goes crazy for the first time. Thor fights them. Remember? On the shield helicarrier.
Okay, no, I do remember that. Yeah. Well, moving along
you can tell like
the next topic. And speaking of sort of ensemble cast where we want to see everyone in the next one, we have the Walking Dead premiere, which happened on Sunday. Oddly enough, during the Comic-Con event in New York City. Basically, Alan's not a big watcher of The Walking Dead, but I happen to be, and it is something that probably a lot of people out there want to hear a little bit about. And I don't mind spewing a little garbage to Alan so he kind of understands what's happening, so maybe he'll end up watching it. Probably not. Oh, but the first episode was amazing, at least in my eyes. They deal with something that's always come up in the past. So in their universe, they have something called the Herd, which is just basically huge mobs of zombies, right? So like zombies one at a time, or even 10 of them, like aren't like super scary or at all a problem if you're out on the run. But like a huge mob of them of like hundreds are a big problem. They're a big deal. So in this episode, they actually come across a ginormous herd that happens to be building up in a quarry, and they have to deal with it. And it's interesting because in the past episodes in the series, they've always come across herds and have to either dodge out of the way, get out of the way, or kind of hide while they kind of pass by. And this is an episode where they're not on the run and they have resources available to them. So like, how do you manage herds, right? So like, it's almost like having free range cattle and like being able to like go and hunt one and get one. But now you've developed society far enough to the point where like, hey, we can farm the animals. Like, how do we manage cattle ourselves? That's kind of what I think of, at least with this episode. Really interesting. I think a different take on the Walking Dead universe in terms of, hey, let's kind of look at things on the grand scheme instead of like, oh my God, we're dying and we need food or water. Like, this is sort of a larger strategy level zombie kind of thing. And you always watch or you hear about like video games that are like first person shooters in like a zombie apocalypse. It'd be phenomenal, a real-time strategy game in the zombie apocalypse. How come no one's done this?
Well, what? You're gonna have limited resources in the first place, right?
Well, I mean, you'd have to go out and collect resources just like you do in any other RTS, right?
True.
It's the same kind of thing. And then like, you'll have neutral mobs, which are zombies, right? And hordes of zombies that you have to deal with. And you have to worry about other camps. That would be like PvP.
Yeah, I know. Go tell Blizzard that.
Yeah, maybe they'll make a Walking Dead strategy game.
There's money in it.
And speaking of Blizzard, we do have the new Overwatch. They're actually going to be premiering something on Twitch tomorrow on some of the more common streamers, Elohim and this Helinik guy. They actually stream a lot of games on Twitch. And they're getting them to play the game and show it off for them, essentially. They'll be doing that tomorrow during the day at 1 p.m. Eastern. And you get a first look at gameplay from Overwatch. And Overwatch is basically, think League of Legends meets like your Team Fortress 2 kind of game. It's kind of comedy characters with a like cartoony kind of first-person shooting-ish, but it's done in third person and it's done in a style like a MOBA. So small teams, and you have sort of this push-pull mechanic for the two teams. Interesting. I've seen some videos online that they showed of gameplay. I mean, it wasn't like real gameplay, people actually playing it, and the trailers. Interesting game. Also interesting, they announced that their closed beta will start on October 27th. A lot of people were asking about that, at least of Blizzard. And it's interesting because it's coming soon, but they haven't actually given a release date. And you've seen all this stuff come out for it, but no other real information. Alan, have you looked at Overwatch at all? Have you been following what's going on?
I haven't been following, but it popped up in my newsfeed a couple of days ago, and I decided to take a look at the footage that they had, and I think it's awesome. It looks like it reminds me a lot like Team Fortress 2, where there are classes, and basically it's a kind of a free for all. There's an objective, you have to capture the flag or something. So be it. I think it's a game worth checking out whenever I get a chance to upgrade my computer. But yeah, I'd be excited for it because it seems like this is like the first original game that Blizzard has had in a long time, I believe, right?
I want to say that Engadget's article said that it was 17 years since they've had new IP, and that's kind of scary. That stuff like Warcraft and StarCraft and those games are really that old.
Diablo as well.
Yeah, I mean, trying to think now, like StarCraft 1, 1997, I think. 1998. Yeah, man, that's a long time. Wow, we're old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't come out with anything that's really new. Did you ever play Blackthorn by them, actually?
No, I've not.
It was like a side-scrolling action game. Really, really interesting. Lost Vikings, have you played that?
Oh, is it part of your Bible?
No. Actually, these games I don't have at all.
Really?
They would have been on Super Nintendo or Sega, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's when they weren't making PC games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were actually doing stuff on the consoles. Yeah, really interesting. I think you can. Now, you might be able to get them like in an emulator, actually, because I think I remember seeing it around, like on a Super Nintendo emulator.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm a little bit interested to see like what their new IP brings, because it looks a lot like Team Fortress 2, and I'm a fan of Team Fortress 2, but I don't like the way that Valve handled the microtransactions and things like that. I mean, it was really, really superficial. They had some small changes that happened in the game, but I mean, the game's going strong still, and I think that's what Blizzard was looking at when they were looking at Team Fortress 2, is probably a like forerunner to this game. I don't know. I look forward to it, and I think the technology is there for them to kind of come away better than Team Fortress 2.
Yeah.
Moving along to a interesting article that Alan brought up to me, and it's essentially about a cell phone, which is also a robot, out of Japan, which, by no surprise, basically it's this cute little robot here,
Robohon,
and his name is Robohon.
Robohon.
I don't know if I would want to carry something like this as my cell phone. I imagine that right there is his camera, like right in his forehead.
It's a projector, actually.
It's a projector.
Yeah. Did you see? There's a video basically showing that it actually projects your text messages and your videos onto like a surface.
So straight up like R2-D2.
Yeah. It's like your R2-D2. I was like, whoa.
I like the picture of him in the pocket.
Yeah.
Because I could totally see people doing that, just walking around with a robot in their front pocket.
I know. It's kind of cute, to be honest with you. It's freaking pop. It reminds me of those pop toys. God damn it.
This just looks kind of weird. Like, is the robot eating his ear, or is he making?
He's whispering to him. He's like, "Hey."
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna shop for something like this, but I think it's kind of interesting to look at least.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a gimmick, obviously. That's the point of this. It's cute.
There's that projector.
Yeah, it's a projector. Yeah, I was surprised that they had a projector, but because if you look at the screen,
just in the way that he's like lined up though in the photo, it looks like he's like throwing up the image.
It's like, here, take his shit. Second curse. Yeah. Yeah. The touch screen in the back seems very. Apparently, the interface is very simple.
Yeah, they mentioned it's 2 inches like large though.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 inches for a touchscreen is very small. That's like the size that you find on like a typical point and shoot camera like these days. Like, I don't know if 2 inches is really the size that I want. Although you do have the projector.
A lot of girls wouldn't want that either.
Okay. Well, maybe they want a toy this big, hanging out.
Yeah.
And with that, speaking of some weird sexual innuendo, how about Playboy saying that they will not be having nudes in their magazine anymore? I'm
So disappointing.
I'm a little bit interested in this. I mean, I saw the headline on CNN, and I was like, well, as a guy, this is like, oh, well, nudies not in Playboy. This is a problem, right? And I read the article. There's actually a lot more to it than just something so simple as like, oh man, hey, there's no more nudie pictures in Playboy. And they actually start talking about how the internet sort of forced them to do this. And you know, the widespread availability of internet porn is forcing a magazine like Playboy to kind of change their business strategy. I think it's kind of important to look at it in sort of that aspect, mainly because, hey, I mean, this is just one business that it's happening to. I mean, there are probably plenty of other businesses that this is happening with. And I was trying to think of some interesting other examples, but I couldn't think of any. But I did think of so Amazon, for example. Amazon allows you to buy all sorts of products on their website, and you see, especially with the news most recently, that Walmart's having some profit issues with their recent announcement today. That hey, Amazon's probably a big reason for this happening. I was thinking about what other businesses alongside it kind of get driven up or driven down, and I was thinking of the packaging industry, right? Boxes, cardboard boxes. Those guys who make cardboard boxes probably are having a huge boom these days. Like in years past, like before the internet, like they were probably like starving, like because no one wanted to use like extra packaging when people were visiting stores. And now it's like everyone needs to have a box in a box so you don't damage the box on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of interested because I mean I buy lots of stuff on Amazon, and I'm sure a lot of other people do, and that happens all the time. I mean, you have the packaging box that the original product comes in. You might have some sort of outer wrapper box that's on it from the manufacturer still, and then Amazon decides to put that in another box. Like crazy. But back to Playboy. I mean, this is an interesting story of how the internet shapes and changes businesses that exist on platforms, both on the internet and kind of aside from it, because Playboy was always this sort of crazy magazine, right? And on their internet service, like they just don't compete. At least that's what they seem to think. And by allowing their magazine to kind of reach a more public audience, which although I think the name will probably hinder it a little bit, maybe they'll be able to capture some of their clients back, perhaps. But I think it's a real tough competition between them and like Maxim or GQ. I mean, people always say, "Oh, I read Playboy for the articles," and I mean that was probably an excuse like in the past. That like now it's becoming more of a reality, like they say in the article on CNN Money. But I don't know. I don't think people are gonna buy Playboy over buying Maxim or something like that, and I just don't see it. What about you?
I don't see it either. I mean, it's part of the trend with that we spoke about before with the internet. It's basically, physical media is dying. It's not like Maxim and GQ are doing that much better right now either. They're struggling as well. So it's interesting that Playboy is basically changing. Think about it. Playboy is basically changing their entire model, because the whole point of Playboy is that you get to see nudies, and I mean high class nudies. But now people don't care. They want to jerk off to hardcore stuff. But it's physical media is dying, so I don't know how this is going to be, how this model is going to work for Playboy, to be honest with you, because like you said, the brand is Playboy. You have these thoughts like, oh, it's about nudies. A parent's not going to buy his son a Playboy magazine because they know when they were younger Playboy is about nudies, whether they know it's even if it says like it's fine for kids now, they're not going to be likely to let their kids buy that. And kids obviously aren't going to buy the Playboy suit, because why would they
it's
want
not marketed to them in the first place.
Exactly.
It's marketed to like the young professional male almost.
Yeah, if I want news or anything, I can just get it on the internet instantaneously. I don't need to read articles on Maxim. So
well, I mean, I'll tell you what. One thing that I find, I mean, I have subscriptions to Maxim and to GQ. I mean, I don't regularly read the articles. In fact, I very rarely even open the magazines that I receive, but I still get them. And every once in a while, if I'm bored, I'll kind of flip through the pages. And you know what? It's a lot of giant pictures, full page ads that get me.
Oh, yeah.
And they're mostly for fashion. And I tell you what, those guys in those ads look great. And sometimes, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to look like that. Like that's what those magazines are all about, right? I mean, it's really trying to get you to buy something. At least now. I mean, the articles are there, and they're not all too often something I'm super interested in. And this goes back to what I was saying before about the internet being about small groups, really, because you can just find whatever you want to find. You don't have to even kind of step out of your comfort zone. And I think I mentioned this 2 years ago, maybe 3, on Facebook. I said, hey, this is why print media is a dying media. And I mentioned that there was like 15 pages of full page advertisements before you even got to the table of contents on a GQ magazine. And somebody made a reply to me. I don't remember who it was. They actually said, no, the media is not dying, it's adapting. But I don't know if that's a good adaptation, because ultimately you're just going to fill up a book full of advertisements, and GQ is going to be like that newspaper that you get on Thursdays that has the ShopRite advertisement for like the local sales for fruit and cuts of meat and stuff like that. Like I don't see that as a great adaptation in the long run. Just like I'm not entirely sure or entirely sold on the idea of Playboy making themselves a non-nude magazine. I think that's a long play, because you have a history of being a adult magazine, and if you're going to overcome that, it would be with time, right? Because you'd have new customers that don't grow up with the fact that they were a nudie magazine. But at the same time, you have the media's kind of drawing down into advertisements. So like you're making a long play in a losing game. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work.
I don't think they'll last that long. I mean, at least GQ and like magazines like Cosmo, they're targeted to people who wants a certain lifestyle, right? Like GQ, like it's more like you see all the ads, they're more like the sophisticated, like metrosexual kind of guy. So at least that's what they're targeting. Playboy, who the hell are they going to target? They can't target perverts anymore, because there's no nudies anymore. So I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, are they going to try to do like maximum like top 100 hotties or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just So I mean, Playboy's always been a big name, something that we've been growing up, right? It's a name that people have always known. So I mean, I don't know if the brand is going to just kind of up and go away, but I think there's something to be said about what they're doing. I mean, they're trying to make sure the brand kind of stays alive, but I have real doubts about whether or not this is going to save it or not.
I agree.
Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank everyone for watching, anyone who's watching live. It looks like we have 2 viewers right now. I also want to thank anyone who's watching this video after it posts in about 10 or 15 minutes when we're done live streaming. I invite you to make some comments, leave them below, and to let us know if you want to be on the show and join us for some conversations about weird stuff like Playboy or Comic-Con or any of the TV or movies or anything you want to talk about, really, because honestly, we're just looking for a conversation with friends. And I want to thank Alan for being on the show with me tonight.
Thanks, Steve. I'm going to go watch Empire after this.
I think Arrow is on actually tonight. I might have actually missed a few minutes of it. I might check that out. Otherwise, I mean, that's pretty much it for the rest of the week. Oh, actually, tomorrow is Heroes. I will be watching that.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks again. We will see you next week, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. We apologize for being a little bit late this week. Some unexpected difficulties. But we hope to have someone else on the show next week. We don't have anyone lined up, but maybe you guys will join us. Thanks again.
All right. Bye, guys.